Now, if you've been watching me for a while, it is no secret that Pixar is my favorite studio of all time. All of their movies just hold a special place in my heart and just stand out on its ground as just the face of animation to me. And just last week, they announced a bunch of new animated movies that they have coming out over this next decade. So I figured, why not rank every single one of their movies coming out in the future by my excitement level. Another reason why this is in last place is because, well, we don't really know much about it. All that we know is basically Coco, but in the Chinese culture of it all, instead of what we got in Coco. That's all we know about this. Now, ideally, this is probably going to be higher because it's the original film from Pixar. Coco is a good movie on its own, and just that concept is always going to be interesting because they did it so well for Coco and even Soul. I feel like this one will even work and pay off the way they're expecting it to. But it's in last place because there's nothing about it. There's not even a director announced. We have nothing really to get us excited about this movie. And recently, Pixar animated movies for their originals are just a lot of 50-50. They don't hit as well as they did in the past. In the past, this would have been number one or so, just because in the past, in that 2000s decade, every single original film was a guaranteed hit. Now, we had Elio, Hoppers brought it back up, but like I said, you never know where they go after Hoppers. But for what we have about this movie, I'm still looking forward to it, I'm still excited for it, and I'm still gonna watch it. It's the original film from Pixar. It's going to be good in some way, shape, or form. All the Pixar movies are good, but right now, how it is, we don't really have much information to get full-on excited for this film just yet. And it is still a while till it comes out, so we have a bit of time. No reason to get over the moon excited just yet.
I'm proud we're family!
Now don't get me wrong, that first Coco movie is a classic. It's one of the best Pixar movies that they made in the past 10 years, or even before that, want to argue, with certain counterparts here and there. But yeah, Coco is a fantastic movie. A sequel to it, though, I was never strong on the idea of a sequel. When they first announced it, I was very confused because there's not really much story that you could go off of because they just wrapped up the events of the first one, and it felt kind of nice to have it just as a standalone story. For a sequel, I feel like it breaks that standalone aspect of it. Is there stuff they can do? Is there themes they could tell that makes me eat my own words of what I said about the sequel? Yes. There are a lot of stuff you can actually do that I am willing to accept with what they're going to do for Coco 2. But right now, we don't know the story, we don't know the direction. It's kind of hard to tell what they're going to do with this movie. Is it going to be good? Most likely. Pixar just seems to know how to handle their sequels. All of their sequels have been really good. But like the last film, I'm basically just borrowing trust here. Where, yeah, the first film was good, but we don't really know exactly what the second one is going to do. So am I excited based on name? Yes, but story-wise, I'm going to just pause for a second and see exactly what they do first before getting excited.
What does that mean? Ah!
It means fire, Robert.
Now I am beyond excited that we are getting Incredibles 3, because then we'll have an official trilogy for the Incredibles movies and have a new trilogy that is made from Pixar. And I mentioned countless times that for superhero movies, specifically The Incredibles, there are so much stories you can tell. That first Incredibles movie is one of Pixar's best films they've ever made. Incredibles 2, a lot of people don't like it. I do. I still think it's a top 10 Pixar film. So I'm expecting Incredibles 3 to be about that as well. They're going to tell some theme in there, just like the first Incredibles movies did, while also making it just a fun superhero movie in general. Finally closing off the trilogy that The Incredibles long needed. But the one thing that is holding me back from this movie is that the original director is not a part of this film. He has no connection to it whatsoever, and that is what's holding me back from putting this any higher on this list. Because of him, I feel like the first two Incredibles movies just worked as well as they did. Brad Bird just made those movies what they are, and the reason why they're some of the best Pixar movies is because of him. Incredibles 3, we don't know who's making this movie. And that scares me, because without Brad in there to help with this movie, I think he is like producing it in some way, shape, or form, but without him writing it, without him directing it, I feel like this movie could go either way. And if they get a director that doesn't know how to handle The Incredibles, doesn't know how to handle this style, well then I feel like this movie could end up being the weakest Incredibles film, and I do not want that to happen. So for this movie to be placed any higher, I just really need to see who is making this movie. Because all we know about this movie is that it's coming out in 2028. We know no story, and like the previous two movies on here, it's really just name-based. It's an Incredibles film, that's what's getting me excited for it. But without knowing any other information, without knowing who is attached to this movie, it is kind of hard to get excited from there, and I can be a bit worried just because Brad Bird is not a part of it. Now, in the 1990s, Disney really made musicals popular, especially in movies and in animated form, and Pixar never really stepped into that category. Although they're owned by the business that is known for their musical animation projects, Pixar never really tapped into that territory. Coco is right on the edge of being a musical, but is not quite. And the creators have said they don't want any of their movies to be musical related unless if it connects to the story. They do not want to throw any necessary songs in there. That's what they said when making Toy Story. Which is why when you watch Toy Story, there's still songs in there that the characters are not singing. It's because at the time, Disney musicals were really popular, and they were pressuring Pixar into adding musical elements in there. They didn't, and they added those type of background songs instead. Fun fact. But now we finally get a Pixar musical. The only thing we know about this is that it's from the creator of Turning Red. Other than that, this movie is a complete mystery, but I am excited for it just based on the factor that it is a Pixar musical. I love musicals. Most of that is from Disney. It introduced me into that era. But behind the camera, I am also really into musicals, really into theater as well. So I love all of that too. So Pixar tackling that genre, I'm 100% in for. We just don't know story, so we don't know anything else, so it's kind of hard to get fully excited. Director-wise, I like Turning Red. Elio, not so much, but I don't really think that's the director's fault. I think that was just more of what happened behind the scenes with that film. So right now, just based on the title of Pixar Musical, I am looking forward to this film. I feel like there are a lot of things Pixar can do that really goes into the idea of musical, and just expands that throughout this entire film. Something like that is what I'm hoping they will do than the traditional, just normal musical where the characters break out into singing. I hope it's something like Coco, just with a lot more songs. Which, knowing Pixar, it most likely will be something like that. But time will tell. I'm excited for this because it's Pixar's first musical. From the director of Luca, we get our first cat-based movie from Pixar. Now, I do think this movie was kind of introduced to begin with because Flow was such a great success at the Oscars and just normally with people. It really sucked the landing, so I think Pixar kind of jumped off that train. But nonetheless, this movie does look really interesting, and themes-wise, it seems like it's going to be dwelling into what Pixar originally did in the past, why their movies were so impactful to begin with, because of what they used to tell behind the themes. This movie is tackling the themes of soul in a way, where it's about a cat thinking about if he lived his life to the fullest potential. And a theme like that is what Pixar is truly known for, which is why an original film like this truly excites me, because it's at the point where we know enough about it that's not giving too much information, but just enough to get you excited about the movie. And surprisingly, it already comes out next year. How is 2027 already next year? But nonetheless, to me, this movie just feels like it's stepping back into the ground of what made Pixar Pixar to begin with. It's from the director of Luca, which that film on its own is fun, lighthearted. Not really this kind of potential theme, but I'm willing to put that aside for a little bit because this director also made that one short film, which I did really like. This theme just seems like the mature Pixar standards that we used to know from the past and what made their movies so iconic to begin with, and I'm expecting that exact same thing from this movie.
What are you doing?
Monsters Incorporated.
It's a musical.
Now, an announcement that came absolutely out of nowhere. Monsters Inc. 3 is officially confirmed and coming out. Probably more 2030, which is still a bit away, so that's 4 years away, so maybe not that far, but nothing soon. But still, Monsters Inc. 3 is actually coming out. Now, obviously, Toy Story is my favorite Pixar movie of all time, but Monsters Inc. is quickly under that. To me, Sully and Mike are just so iconic as a duo, and that entire first Monsters Inc. movie is so fun, while just bonding all these characters together. Monsters University also does that too. And I think it's about time that we actually get a true sequel to Monsters Inc. Now, it was rumored at one point, I don't know if it's happening, which is why it's not on this list, that Ratatouille 2 might be coming out. I am fully disagreeing with that. Ratatouille does not need a sequel. Monsters Inc., on the other hand, I feel like there is a lot of stuff you could do with a sequel. Not only because it's one of my favorite films of all time, but also on the factor is that that first movie just left things open. You could do a lot of storyline with that. Monsters at Work, the show on Disney Plus, proved that in a way. I don't know if this movie is going to be tying into that in any way, shape, or form, because I feel like that show did tell a lot of story that I feel like was missing and kind of expanded on the ending of Monsters Inc., of where things definitely could have gone. And that's exactly what they did. Monsters Inc. 3, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Back in the day, they were making a Monsters Inc. sequel before Monsters University, where they basically went into the real world to try to find Boo because her door didn't work. All of that, you can probably find the official plot somewhere online. So, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Monsters Inc. 3. You could do a lot with it. Especially since jumping off the show, jumping off of Monsters University, you could find a way to tie them all together, like what the show did. There's just a lot you can do. I think it's about time we get a Monsters Inc. sequel. Finally see Sully and Mike back again as their iconic duo.
Poncho.
It's good to see them fighting again.
It sure is.
But the one that comes out this year, and the one that was easily number one for me, is going to be Toy Story 5. Like I already mentioned, Toy Story is my favorite movie of all time, judging from my background. The Toy Story 4 ending worked for me, but not in the way Toy Story 3 ending did. Toy Story 3 has this whole emotional roller coaster that I just loved, and was the perfect ending for these characters. Toy Story 4 came around and made an ending that worked, but compared to Toy Story 3, it just wasn't quite on the same level. And what I'm seeing from the trailers for Toy Story 5, I feel like they're going to be able to fix that, undo that, and actually fix all the problems that Toy Story 4 brought. To me, Toy Story 4 kind of put aside everything that we loved about the Toy Story movie and tried to do something new with bringing in all these new characters. Toy Story 3 for me works the most because it's when every single character is together interacting. You can't have a Toy Story movie without the crew together, and that's exactly what Toy Story 3 did. That's why out of all the Toy Story movies, that one just feels the most like Toy Story. Now Toy Story 4 completely undid that, but Toy Story 5 on the other hand seems like it's bringing that back into form. Jessie is the main character again. Buzz doesn't seem dumb. We're dealing with the theme of technology, so I feel like Pixar, especially with the Toy Story property, they know how to tell their themes, they know how to tell what they're doing with that. It's just not going to be a cheap one-off thing. I do think this movie has a lot of potential to make the ending great again and goes back to the level of what Toy Story 3 did. Toy Story 5 to me just has a lot of potential, especially when the trailer came out. It just confirmed all these ideas and made me 10 times more excited for the movie than I already was. Comes out in 3 months. I finally cannot wait for it. Let's see what Toy Story 5 has to offer in June. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, maybe these ones on the subs YouTube, like, subscribe. See you guys next time. Goodbye.